All right, so negatives, a couple right off the bat. Istrid is just like a character. I don't know what they're gonna plan to do with him because like that guy is just so lame to me. Stregobor as well. They have this weird thing where like they're killing off like some characters who should still be alive. Primarily talking about Mousak, right? Like he still has um I mean, in the Sword of Destiny story, he's still alive, but they didn't include that, which we will talk about. So I guess him dying was okay in that context because the Sword of Destiny story is just not in this. So I guess that throws that complaint out. Um, but Stregobor, like him, like are they planning to do more with that character? It's just so weird that like he's just not a big part of the books at all, and they're just like making him like more of a character. So like I'm both interested and like not interested at all to see like what they plan to do with Stregobor of all people. Who would have like I don't think one person, one fan of the books would have ever guessed um that Stregobor of all people would actually be a recurring character in this first season, right? So like that's pretty hilarious to me that oh no, he's gonna be something. I don't know. I didn't like the whole Doppler storyline. That was just like it just felt pointless to me. like and the fact that my biggest pet peeve about that Doppler story, first of all, when Kahir told Mousak to run, and then the Doppler just like tackles him like fucking like 1 minute later, was just like okay. But then like when the Doppler goes to like he like transforms as Siri, and Kahir captures the Doppler that's masquerading as Siri, but the Doppler has Siri just tied up to like a tree back in the forest. It's like so obvious that someone just can come by and like rescue her. So like what the hell was the Doppler thinking about doing that? Like I don't know, the whole Doppler story just like really didn't work. That's one of those instances or cases of them deviating from the source material and trying to do their own thing, which I appreciate because I don't want this to be a one-to-one adaptation, because I've already read that, right? I want to see some different things, but in terms of them trying to do something different, the Doppler story just didn't work for me at all. Um, so, and then I guess this also kind of ties into Fringilla. Good God, it pisses me off the way that Fringilla was portrayed in this first season. We could get really deep into her appearance and all that sort of stuff. And my only thing is that like I don't care how she looks, but like just she better be damn consistent with how she is in the books, right? And then this also kind of opens the door of okay, now because we she is related to Amir, she is related to Anna Henrietta. So now do you change Anna Henrietta as well? So it gets a little bit murky with that. But I don't know, I just wasn't a big fan of her being this like evil dark mage, right? Who practices evil magic and necromancy and has to like sacrifice people to make these big bombastic spells and eating the flesh of like another person, just like her being at the forefront of some kind of like evil magic initiative or whatever was just like really really weird to me, and just like unnecessary. I think that's like the biggest word. Like it was just like unnecessary for them to take Fringilla into like a completely drastic like route that didn't need to happen in my opinion. But it's whatever, I guess. It's whatever. It's like I hate to say it that we have to accept it, but it's like it's done. It's set in stone, so it's like it's going to happen. It's gonna make the eventual like because I love Fringilla, man. Like I made an entire video about her and Geralt's relationship. So it's to me it's gonna make the eventual little stint that those two have together like really weird to me because I just don't like Fringilla at this first season. Um so yeah, Fringilla I didn't really like. Um Ka here, I was like, I don't know what it is about it. I just don't like. I don't even think I could really pinpoint it, but there's just something about Ka here that just like. I don't know. I don't know about him, man. Like it's just like he's one of my favorite characters from the Hansa, and I don't know. Like he just didn't really work for me in this. So like, fingers crossed, man. That he gets to do something better. Like the coolest thing that he did was get to go up against Vilgefortz, but like I just never really got like a sense or like any real attachment to him in this first season. And I guess it could be argued that like you weren't supposed to because like he is the villain, but like still I don't know, that he just didn't work for me in this first season, and I hate to say that. um so yeah, those things were big negatives. Okay, so the biggest negative for me in this first season was something that I was absolutely sure was going to happen in this first season. I was like, there is no way that this first season does not have this short story, right? And the funny thing is that shout out to Proper Bird. I watched her spoiler free review. I think I was like on episode 4 or 5. I want to say it was probably 4. I watched her spoiler free review when I was on episode 4. And she talks about one of her biggest gripes with this first season is that the inclusion or the lack thereof of a specific story that is absolutely paramount to the overall, narrative or story of The Witcher. It's a important story that needs to be in this first season, and she was baffled at the fact that it's just not in here at all. It's completely just like skipped over. She could not believe it, right? And when she said that, I was like, no, they didn't. I was like, no, they did not. And I knew immediately it was sort of destiny because we I think by episode 4 or 5 we already get Ciri in Brocklin Forest, and I was like, there's just no way. There is absolutely no way you guys skipped over the Sword of Destiny short story. And they absolutely did. For the life of me, I cannot understand why they would skip over such a important story. It's the first time that Geralt and Ciri meet, and to me, it almost takes away from the emotional moment that is supposed to be emotional moment of Geralt and Ciri meeting for the first time in the forest or whatever, right? At the end of episode 8. And it's like, yeah, it's intended to be this huge emotional moment, right? Like you're supposed to be on the verge of tears, right? But it's like they've never met before. So like as an audience member who has no, familiarity with the books or the video games, it's like what am I supposed to be feeling here, right? Because they've never met before. So like it's this big emotional moment that like I don't think is really earned or doesn't really work because like they don't have that prior association or they don't have that prior interaction with each other in the Brocklin Forest. So like that scene just didn't work for me at all. It just felt so rushed. And that's another thing. The Brocklin Forest was just like, that's another huge gripe I have is the Brocklin Forest. It just it didn't feel unique. It didn't feel distinct at all. It just felt like a regular forest inhabited by, tribes people, basically, right? What's so cool about the Brocklin Forest is, what's so unique about it is, right, is the monsters that inhabit the forest, the dryads, the terrain, the huge boughs of these, larger than life trees. The houses are like the huts that are built into the trunks or whatever. It is this absolutely like majestic, beautiful, almost alien like plot of land that is also very dangerous. Like I just said, the monsters, there are tons of monsters that live within this place. The terrain is treacherous. There are all sorts of traps and things like that set up by the dryads to keep people out of Duin Canal or whatever. The dryads themselves, our introduction to the Brocklin Forest in the Sword of Destiny is Geralt, walking into the border, right, of Brocklin, and finding a boy with a arrow lodged into his skull, dead. Like that's our first introduction to this world. The boy and Geralt finds like another arrow, like in a trunk, a few paces before he finds the kid or something like that, and he's talking to himself, and he's like, the kid didn't realize that the first arrow was his warning to get out of here, like do not come any closer to this place, and then the second arrow was to kill him, because he did not realize that the first arrow was a warning shot, basically. But I just feel like we didn't the uniqueness of the Brocklin Forest just did not come across at all to me, and how dangerous this place is. It's inhabited by these dryads who value who value their sovereignty. They're detached from the civilized world. They do not like humans at all. So it was also really, really weird to me that they just let Mousak they just escort Mousak into Mousak slash the Doppler, whatever. They just escort him into the forest. Like, sure, he said that, oh, I know Siri, everything's cool. But like I just feel like the dryads still, like, I don't know, that just rubbed me the wrong way, that they were just so quick to let Mousak into the Brocklin Forest, was just really, really weird to me. So yeah, I don't know. And then like continuing with the Brocklin Forest, it's really just that huge chunk of the Brocklin Forest, and the just the total cutting of the Sword of Destiny. That's my huge issue with this Netflix series. Lady Ethne, her and Geralt don't have any interaction at all. It's such an interesting, fascinating discussion about, whether or not destiny, exists or not. And it's kind of the butting of heads between these two ideologies that, Geralt, has, such a apprehension, or he's so opposed to the idea. And then you have Ethne, who's very, for it, right? And then the giving Ciri the water of Brocklin and all that stuff, but we don't have any of that interaction at all, which is just like, why? Like, we needed that stuff. And then we're also missing out. Oh my god, we're also missing out on Sword of Destiny, first of all, is my favorite short story, so this hurts. This definitely hurts. But we're missing also the amazing interactions between Kid Ciri and Geralt in the forest, right? So Geralt telling Ciri a story, to put her to sleep, a story that I believe Vesemir would tell him at Kaer Morhen or something like that. And Geralt putting Ciri on his back, piggyback style, right? And then there's also like this one moment where like Ciri's like, I'll behead you too, Witcher, or something like that, like chop. And Geralt's like, have mercy, Ciri, like something like that. But there's just so much great dialogue between those two. It's just like completely lost, and that really makes me sad, because like I just feel like you need to, like, in order for the hug at the end of this first season to really be a gut punch, for it to really matter and hit home like it is intended, like it is supposed to, I just feel like Sword of Destiny was absolutely crucial for that scene to be as emotional as it was intended to be. And now what I think the problem is the inclusion of Ciri from episode 1. I think was probably the problem. I think if Ciri was introduced in, let's say, episode 6, and you had her in Obviously, you had sort of Destiny in episode 7, and then you had something more be episode 8 to finish off the season. I feel like that also would have given a, if you cut off the Siri moments from episode 1 through 6, let's just say that also gives a lot of time for like a lot of the other stories to have a little bit more breathing room, because I also, another one of my problems is that everything just feels really rushed, right? So like the Last Wish story just felt like we were missing a ton of moments between Yennefer and Geralt in that episode. And then as well as the Three Jackdaws episode, we were missing some really great characters like Dory Gray, who is a fascinating character with just specifically his stance on, you know, the treatment of animals and how their skins are made for, you know, the clothes that, you know, and the shoes, you know, that people wear and things like that. Like that, we don't even get to see that character, which is crazy. So like I do wonder if, like, I do commend them for wanting to introduce all three of them together, but I do wonder if you were to leave Siri, you know, for the last few episodes of this season, could we have gotten more breathing room to exist, you know, within the short stories that absolutely demanded, like, I feel like the most time spent, like the Last Wish episode. We, like, that episode should have had the most pulled from the source material, right? And the Three Jackdaws episode as well should have been, like, we should have had way more breathing room with those episodes to digest or whatever. Like that's just like one of my biggest issues, or just like a hypothetical, that if we were to remove Siri from those from half the season, would we have gotten more time with, you know, with those episodes? Could they have been more fully fleshed out, as opposed to, like, I just feel like we were blitzing through this material really fast, and I don't know, I just wish that we had a little bit more time with those short stories specifically. Like the fact that we didn't get Yennefer and Geralt when they first meet in The Last Wish, and we didn't get the moment where you know, like Yennefer like blows Geralt back with a spell and blows him like all the way to like a wall, and he uses I believe Quen to like block it a little bit, but he's like still blown all the way back from how powerful the spell is. We didn't get to see that, and when Geralt was like please Yennefer, like no more. We didn't get to see that moment. We didn't get to see the sarcasm that he uses against Ciri or Yennefer in that episode, or in that short story, when I forgot what questions she asks Geralt specifically, but Geralt responds with like the best line ever. He's just like, which question shall I answer first? And I think that's the moment when Yennefer then like shoots a spell at him and then tosses him back. But I don't know, we were missing a lot of conversations in that short that episode that I really wanted to see. And it's the same thing with the Facina thing at the, I've totally forgot Geralt meets his goddamn mother at the end of the season. And that was also like, it's not the longest moment from the books. It's not like 100-page, you know, chapter or whatever, but like that went by so quick, and we didn't even get the little tidbit that, you know, although I will say that, yeah, they did get like the most important parts of that little bit of the short story. Specifically Geralt, you know, telling his mother, like, I want you to look me in my eyes. I want you to look and see what they do to witchers or to little boys to get their eyes like this. Things like that. I'm happy that they got like those moments. But like there's other little things that, like, I just felt like that scene just went by really quick, because it takes Geralt like a little bit of time to actually realize like who he's talking to. As opposed to this, I just felt like it was like immediately, like he knew who he was talking to. And we didn't even get the little tidbit of Geralt saying that, like, you know, Vesemir named me Geralt or whatever, and the revelation of Vicina saying, that's not true. I was the one who gave you that name. Jury is still out. Vesemir in season 2 could maybe reveal that to Geralt. Who knows? But I was definitely disappointed by how quickly that scene went, and obviously so, because it was like the last like 5 minutes of the episode. So, yeah, I don't know, man. Um, so all in all, my biggest gripe with I guess the first season was just like the things that were cut out, the just the blitzing through material, especially the material that I felt deserved more time to be talked about, to have readers, or to have, us, kind of exist within. I wish these stuff got more time to just like marinate, to actually chill within these moments, because they are fucking great moments that deserve to be, not expanded upon, but they deserve, their time in the limelight. They deserve to be marinated on, right? And I just feel like they were really, really blitzing through that stuff. Brocklin, of course, was a huge issue for me. And then just the baffling decision to cut out the Sword of Destiny.